Hello, this is Andrew again. In this screencast, I want to show some of the templates that in the productivity tools for SharePoint developers that I've created for those developers using CodeRush and Refactor inside of Visual Studio. Specifically, the templates we're going to cover in this screencast would be used within a publishing site or a WCM site or web content management site, as it's also known. So what I have here is just standard. I've got this sample project here. We're probably not going to even use it though in the screencast. What I want to do is just focus on a handful of specific templates. So the templates I want to focus on, if you go to DevExpress Options, and then once the Options page loads, pick Editor, and then Templates. Make sure your language is set to XML, and then I'm going to go through and make this window a little bit bigger to see some stuff here. Now, there's a publishing field here, okay, or publishing node here. What this is, these are a couple templates. Now, as you can see here, they're basically all these templates are ones that would be used inside of an element manifest file that are specific for publishing sites. Now, the whole idea behind these guys is they're basically making it easier for you to build the module elements to create file sets. And you would use these file sets to provision page templates and master page templates and CSS and images and such. You would use these file templates and you would provision them as instances, uncustomized instances inside of SharePoint libraries like the master page gallery or the style library. The trick here is that while you can do this with standard stuff inside of SharePoint, the standard element manifest things within SharePoint, it's a little bit easier if you can do this. It's a little bit easier, a little bit nicer if it does something specific for you within publishing sites. So the first one I want to point out is a site column. This one's very straightforward. We can just want to create a new element site column, but we want it to inherit from or use the publishing HTML field type. And to do that, I'm just going to add on HTML on the end of it. And you'll see here that I get all the standard stuff I would get for a new site column, except the type has already been set to HTML. And then we've got some additional stuff here for the rich text that's already been configured as well. All right. Now let's get on to the modules. Now, or let's do one more. Sorry, before we do modules, we'll do one more on content types. Now, when you create a new content type that's going to be used within a publishing site, specifically for a content page, that content type must inherit from the page content type that's added when we activate the publishing features. Now, to inherit from a content type, you indicate this within the content type's ID. Well, when I want to create a new content type using these templates that we've already got here, I have a place to put the ID, but the ID is going to be this really long ID for the publishing page or for a specific page content type. So what I've done here is that the page content type, if we go in and look at the 12 templates and then open up and look inside the publishing resources feature, and look at, say, the publishing resources, where is it? Content types. I'm going to pop him up, open in Notepad. And what I'm looking for here is the page template. I think that's it. Oh, that's not it. I think this one's it. Okay. So what we're going to get here is we want this entire content type here. Let's just double check really quick, make sure I didn't grab the wrong one. Well, that's not the one that's going to the comment, so we'll just use this one for right now. We want this one, we want this entire content type ID that's been highlighted here. We want that to be the ID that we're going to use as the base ID for our content type that we're going to use to inherit from from the page content type. So what I've done here to make your life a little bit easier is not only would you normally create a new element content type here, but you would create it for a publishing page. So if you add on the PP on the end of it and then hit space, you'll see that the content type, okay, that's a different ID than what we were just looking at, so I found the wrong one inside Notepad. But this ID that you see listed here, this is the content type ID for the page content type. And then it automatically goes in, and I've added in a 00 with a new GUID here to give it some uniqueness here. So this way you don't have to worry about going through and always trying to find the content type ID for this guy, just making your life a little bit easier. The rest of it is just standard field reference stuff or page stuff that you would normally use. But I've also added in the document template for when we want to create a new page. It's going to take us to the create page page. So with that, let's go ahead and now let's look at some of the element modules. Now, there's 4 different kinds of files that you're going to want to provision into a SharePoint publishing site. 3 of them are usually going to go inside. 3 types of them are going to go inside the master page gallery, and another type of file is going to go inside the style library. So let's first look at the ones that are going to go inside the master page gallery. If I go through and let's say I want to create a new element for a master page, element module for a master page, I'm going to pick the element module master page template, hit space, and stub this guy out. Now you can see here, let's go ahead and just clear all these guys, clear all those nodes here. What you'll see here is that it's created a new module file set, and this module file set here has got the URL for the master page list. It's going to give you a spot to put in a relative path, a local path for the master page itself, wherever it lives inside the feature. And then also it's already pre-configured here to say it's only going to run within the root web or the top level site in our site collection. It then goes in and adds in a file for this file set where you would put in the URL of the master page inside the feature, and then also if you want to change the name of it to be something else inside the master page gallery. Now the cool part here is these different properties have already been set up for you. The content type has already been set for what kind of a content type a master page is. We've got a property here for a publishing preview image that's already been set up to assume that you're going to put your preview images inside of a subfolder called preview images of the master page gallery. And then this is just my preference, but you can change this after you import your templates. I like to use the URL as both the target, obviously, and the name inside of this list. So this is going to allow you to specify a preview image for your master page. I also have the ability to put in a title and a description, and it went in and added some stuff down here for provisioning a preview image associated with this guy. All right, there's some things you'd have to fill in here, but that's fine because it's easier to fill stuff in or to cut stuff out than it is to write it from scratch. Okay, it's easier to fill in the blanks, at least from my perspective. Well, if I have this, once I have one of these pages created, what if I want to create yet another master page? Well, what I'd do is I'd come down here inside the same node, and I would say I want to create a new element module master page file, hit space, and it's going to add in another master page, another one that's been set up for master pages. All right. The other kind of file that we would want to create is an element module page layout. He too has already been set up with the master page gallery here. The things that we also see that are kind of nice here is that I already have a spot here for the content type has been changed automatically, and we have this publishing associated content type, and this is the content type that the page layout implements. Okay, so again, in publishing sites we have content types that we use to define the schema and rules of a page, and then we have page layouts that define the rendering. One cool thing about this guy is you'll see here that we've got the content type ID listed. Well, it's smart enough that if I go back to my, oh, I lost my cut. So another kind of page that we would want to create is a page layout. Okay, so let's say we want to go through and create a new page layout. It would be a element module page layout. You can see here he's got the same things that we had before. It's going to already go in the master page gallery. The content type has already been specified for us. There's also a preview image down here that's being provisioned. All right, but the one thing I want to point out here is the publishing associated content type property. Now, you'd have to put in the content type name, and you'd also have to put in the content type ID right here. But this one is going to be smart enough to, if you have the ID of a content type on the clipboard, it's going to paste it in automatically. So to see that in action, let's go through and let's create a new content type ID. So element content type publishing page. So we've got all of these. Now let's go in and let's grab our, put this guy on the clipboard. You can see I hit Control C down here in the keys window. So I'm going to go and put this guy on the clipboard, and then go a little bit farther down here, and I'm going to create a new element module page layout, and it automatically put in that content type ID for me, saving me a lot of time. All right, making life a lot easier. What if I want to create a new page layout in this module, provision another one? Well, to do that, it's just an element module page layout file. Stubs it right out. Same way master pages worked. So when I want to go in, as you see here, these, like we were talking about in one of the earlier screencasts, we have all these are mnemonics. So I have an element module master page. If I want to add a file to it, I just say an element module master page file. If I want to do a page layout, it's an element module page layout or element module page layout file. All right. Now the second to last thing I want to go through, let's go through and put the page layout in there again. What if I want to go through and add in another preview image? Well, I have an element module preview image as well. That'll go through and let me add new files that way. All right. Now finally, the last one I want to show you is the last type of file that we would go through and provision, and that would be like branding files. Files we use for a look and feel and layout. These would be things like style sheets and images that are used in the Chrome of the site. These files typically are going to be placed inside the style library in the site, because the style library has special permissions that are automatically assigned to it that everybody can read throughout the entire site collection. So again, you don't have to put them here. You can put them on the file system, but this is just one option here for those of us who do like to put them in the style library. I'm going to go in and I'm just going to say use a new template that we have called an element module style library space, and it's automatically going to set up that files are going to go in the style library, and then it's got a file already set up for you right here as well. And if I want to add new files, well, I can just use one of the other templates, one of the generic ones, which was element module file, and just adds in another file for us. Okay. And so with that, that's all the stuff that I wanted to add for publishing sites, specific for publishing developers, publishing site developers. I encourage you to watch the other screencast to get an idea of all of the things that are available to all SharePoint developers in this little set of productivity enhancements that I've provided.